Hello, we were over for a Norwich game, and this is my personal match report. We met lots of old friends and new friends too. We've been to a Love Supreme, to Supporters Association, and to Fans Museum. Lots of beers in town, lots of beer this time. um, but we had a very good run on the rocker. 10 kilometers was good, especially after the drink night. About the match, I see a little bit tired team, but with lots of passion and fighting spirits. So that is very important. Fantastic result, and my man of the match is Roberts because I know uh, some mistakes, but always positive and is dangerous close the box. We did not have a problem with a Black Eye Friday. So away the fans, big hug and Merry Christmas from Italy.
Mayenda now pops it back in towards Ballard. Yes! Sunderland are back in this, and it's that man again.
Yeah. 2-in-2 for Dan Ballard.
To see how this develops. The Sunderland possible opportunity. It's Jobe. It's in.
Yes! Get in there.
Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. My name is Lee Thirkell. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and today I'm joined by a new guest, two new guests actually. We've got Chris in Brisbane. Good evening to you, Chris.
Good evening, good morning, whatever time it is over there.
It's just gone 10 in the morning here, mate.
10 in the morning. Good morning.
Yeah, and I know it's 7 in the evening for you. And for the first time, we've also got Paul, who is in Thailand. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, mate. Right. So yesterday we managed to get another win. 10 points from 12 against Norwich, 2-1 in front of 40,000 at the Stadium of Light. But before we talk about the game, as always, when we have new guests, we like to hear their Sunderland stories. So I'm going to go with you, Chris, first. Could you tell us your Sunderland story and how you ended up in Brisbane?
Yeah, no worries. So weirdly, for a lad from the northeast, I grew up in a family that didn't care about football. So I wasn't into football. I thought I wasn't into football, thought I didn't like it, thought I didn't care about it. Parents weren't into it, sister wasn't into it, so just didn't have that exposure to it. And then a little thing called the 1990 World Cup happened. And I was 15 at the time, so I was off school, and I watched every single match and suddenly realised I think I quite like this game. I think England's journey obviously added to falling in love with it. I think if we hadn't done as well, maybe the bug wouldn't have bit me. But yeah, watched every game, loved it. And then once that was over, I kind of thought, oh, hang on, I need to get into this. So I need to pick a club, so to speak. It was never really up for any doubt. I mean, although my direct family weren't into football, my wider family, all my uncles had season tickets in the clock stand because they were posh. And yeah, I started to go to the games, went to a couple of matches. Then went to a Sunderland school. So it was never really going to be an option of following that lot. It was always ever going to be Sunderland. It was never going to be anybody else. And yeah, that's how it started. And just here we are many, many years later and many heartbreaks later, and I'm still on the bus.
Yeah. And what would be your favourite memory, would you say?
That's a really hard question. There's a few. Weirdly, the one that jumped to mind when I saw that question was Vaughan's goal against the Scum, and I'm not sure why. I think I was really nervous about that game, and I remember sitting in the mad heat in Brisbane watching it, thinking, just being really nervous about the match, and like, here we go again. And just when that went in, I remember, and I was on my own, I stood up in the living room and just was doing this. I was giving it the arms out wide, and I'm just almost doing the canter out celebration when he scored against us. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the way we were playing. I couldn't believe the goal. I couldn't believe how good it was. Like it all felt so comfortable and it all came together. And it was fabulous. It was just incredible. Um, Other ones that jump to mind are obviously Quinny's goal in the rain. That was amazing. The cross, the finish, just the whole thing about it. And Barini's goal against Man City in the final. There was just at half time, there was just that racing heart rate of, are we actually going to do this? Maybe we can do it. And then obviously that all fell apart about 10 minutes in the second half. But yeah, just they're the ones that jumped to mind when I read those questions. I was like, yeah, they're the ones that jumped in immediately. So they're probably the peak ones for me.
Mhm. And now that you live in Brisbane, then, I mean, are you part of any kind of supporters branch, or is it just you at the minute, or do you not know
It's
any
just
other?
me. I tried to contact so I went onto the website a couple of years ago and I tried to contact the email address for the Brisbane based branch and I emailed a couple of times and it just never got back to me. So I don't know whether the guy packed it in or whether it was a dead email address or he changed his email address or whatever. But yeah, it fell in a hole and it's something that I'd love to do. Like it'd be great to meet up with other fans and go to the games and things. There's a couple of English pubs over here that show a lot of matches, even in the championship. So that'd be awesome. But yeah, it's really hard to organize over here.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose that the time zone isn't very nice for you, is it not? Because it must be what 3 o'clock kick, must be what 1 in the morning, or something like that, or
Yeah, it's not very nice. When we're in League One, there was some challenging times there, getting up to watch it at 1 o'clock and staying awake till 3 o'clock in the morning, watching us, get
yeah,
beaten up or whatever.
or
It wasn't.
drawn at Cheltenham or something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there were challenging times. I mean, I kept doing it, but yeah, there were times I was sitting there watching, going, what am I doing? Well, it's the middle of the night. What am I doing? But yeah, once you're in, you're in. So you got to do it.
Yeah, and now that you live over in Brisbane, I suppose it's not easy to get back as often because of like money terms. So when was the last
Yeah.
time you were back, and when's the next time you're coming over?
So the last time I was back was actually 2009, so a long time ago. I arrived in 2006. So I've been here nearly 20 years. And yeah, last time I was back was 2009. The flight is very expensive, as you say, and it's just so uncomfortable. Like 24 odd hours on a tiny little plane. It's just a hassle. Every time I think about going back over, and I do, I want to go back to the UK. I want to visit. I want to go to a proper English pub and do all of those things again. And it's so draining when you look at the prices and you think about sitting on a tiny plane for that length of time. It's a bit of a hassle. So yeah, I was back in 2009. Ironically went to my first away game. I went to watch us play against Wigan when Steve Bruce was in charge, and we drew 1-1. And then there was a home game just before I came back over. I think it was against Middlesbrough, but it was a while ago, so could be wrong. Might be misremembering that. Next time, it's a tough one because the like my dad comes over every couple of years and he'd be the main person that I'd want to see to go back. Like I don't have a lot of family or friends over there anymore. So I don't have a lot of people to go back and see other than him. And he comes over every couple of years. So that kind of reduces that need to go back, I guess. But he's getting on a bit. So I'd like to go back. I'd like to get back within the next couple of years to see some more games and get to the soul and hopefully be in the Premier League.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for that, Chris. Brilliant stories. Paul, are you ready? It's your turn, mate.
Yep.
Fire away. Tell us
What?
your
Where am I?
Sunderland story.
So I suppose that would be the Dennis Smith era,
Yeah,
and I remember my dad and the Sunderland Echo being around the house, and his friend would come down from Sunderland quite often, and he'd always bring the Sunderland Echo. And it was I was a young, oh God, I wasn't even a teenager. I would say that I liked football. I knew that the family was the Sunderland supporters, and we all came from Sunderland. But I basically was raised in the south. I'm a posh Sunderland supporter, if you like. I don't have the accent anymore. There's just certain words and certain vowels that will come out, and it'll sound like a magnum. It was Dennis Smith and Gabby. The Sleeping Giants. I remember the headline of the article was why Gabby joined Sunderland. It was because of the Sleeping Giants term came out.
yeah. That must have been what was that? Late 80s, early 90s, was it?
I'd
Around
go
that
with the
time?
80s,
Yeah,
late 80s time.
yeah.
And of course it was bloody CFAX and bits in the paper, just little tidbits in the paper, nothing like today.
Yeah,
These
no,
days,
yeah, and you would, yeah, as you said that you would have got the Sunderland Echo, wouldn't you? Like, but a bit late. Do you remember your first match then?
There was one in Apple Park when I was about 4 or 5, and then the very next one that I can think of is we were playing Coventry, and I saw Gary Bennett and David Speedie have that thing. If memory serves me correctly, that was that game against that team, Coventry. It could have been a bloody another team, but this is a long time ago. And Thomas Hauser came on as well, and obviously Dad took us there, so it actually got a bit. We had to kind of leave because it got a bit hasty in the away end with the
All right.
home supporters. Yeah, he was with his, my stepmom at the time. So we kind of like, he's like, I don't like this. So off we went. But that was the first game.
Yeah. And like now you live in Thailand, so I
Hmm.
suppose it's not easy to get back either, is it? To get back to watch matches. So how often do you get back?
I haven't been back to the UK, sort of similar to Chris, for a long, long time. I think it's going to be a long, long time before I actually do go back. The only reason I would go back to the UK is if I'd decided that's it, enough of Asia. Even though all my youth was spent in Milton Keynes and Brighton doing the band down there, I spent hardly any time in Sunderland, hardly any time, or see them. And if I did go back, it would be to live and work, and that would be straight to the northeast because you got to do these things before you die, basically. So that's what
Yeah,
I'd want to do. I'd want to spend the end there.
yeah, yeah. No place like home, eh? Um, and have you got any fellow Mackhams living in Thailand with you that you meet up with, or any branches there?
I don't know about the branches. I'm still relatively new to Thailand. I'm not in Bangkok. I was there for 3 months. I didn't like it, and sure, there's lots of pubs, and we've got the internet. You can get in touch with people if you want. But I knew I wasn't going to stick around in Bangkok, so I'm in a little place called Rayong. It's on the south, next to well, right next to the beach, basically.
Hmm.
So I haven't got any sort of branch or anything. I haven't even looked into something like that, or
Well,
making one or joining one. There's probably one going. I don't know. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think there is. Well, I mean, there are some around that area, but I mean, I have seen a couple of people in Thailand, but they just pop up and then like jump off and then jump away somewhere
Mm.
and disappear. A bit like the one in Brisbane. I mean, and yeah, I think I remember seeing the Brisbane Mackhams on the list, but apparently I was told that a lot of people created branches during the Stuart Donald era. Uh, at his command, basically, Stuart Donald said, like, let's get branches everywhere in the world. So the club like announced loads of branches with one or two people in them, and then some of them have continued, but a lot of them have just like disappeared. So anyway, never
Yep.
mind.
As did
Uh,
Stuart Donald.
yeah, it sums them up, doesn't it, really? Um, well, it's either him or Charlie. Right.
Aye.
Anyway, lads, thanks for your Sunderland stories then. On to the game yesterday, 2-1 against Norwich. Chris, there was one change. '09 came in for Hume because he was a bit ill, apparently. I was a bit surprised, but I mean, if he's ill, then fair enough. Um, but once again, we fell behind in the fourth game in a row, but we managed to grind out a result. So, what is it, Chris, with this slow start that we seem to be making? Well, not slow start, but like conceding.
Really good question. And it's an odd one because we started the season like a train, and I wonder. Part of me thinks that that's because none of the other managers knew what to expect from Reggie, so they were all sort of taken back a bit and just didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, we were winning like 3-4-0 almost every game early on in the season. Um, I think the Norwich one, the thing that really frustrated me, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, was we just switched off for the set piece. We just fell asleep. Like nobody was paying any attention, and Norwich just latched onto it. And I thought the first half in general was just really. It's not a very accurate description, but just bitty. Like it felt like neither side really got into it, and it felt like Norwich came to get a draw or a win if they could. And I feel like a lot of teams come into the stadium now and are just playing real dark art stuff. Like they're time wasting from minute one. They're trying to get players sent off. I mean, that Saints was a real worky ticket. You could see what he was trying to do from just the get-go. The Hernandez boy as well for them was the same. Like it felt like every chance they got, they were just really niggly, nasty little fouls and things. I don't think the ref helped. I think he lost control of the game. Like there was a couple of bookings that he should have made early on that probably would have calmed it down a bit. And then it felt like he gave a really soft one, and then he kind of made a rod for his own back, and it just felt like he was waving cards left, right, and centre after that. And
Well,
it
the,
was,
the one on Ballard as well. Remember
yeah, the high
the
boot,
kick?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the one. He let that go, and then you could see like everybody in the stadium was, you could hear the rumblings even on the stream. And I mean, obviously, I've got nobody to bounce ideas off when I'm watching it, but as I'm sitting there going, surely that's at least a yellow. Um, but yeah, I thought the ref just lost control of it, and I can't put my finger on the slow starts. It feels like we come out in the first half and we're almost a bit timid, almost like we're waiting for the away team to set up and see what they're going to do, and then Reggie reacts to it.
Mm.
Don't know. It's a tough one. Because again, like I said, we started the season like a train, and it just feels like we've kind of dropped off a little bit. But yeah, the first half wasn't great.
yeah. And then Paul, then on the 21st minute, they scored the goal, as Chris said. It was a bit of pinball, wasn't it? And as Chris mentioned, like they were slow to react. The ball was just seemed to be bouncing in the area. And I mean, I just sort of saw Chris Rigg. He was just standing there, and all of a sudden he sees like, "Hang on, I've got to do something here." And by that time, it was too late. So, what do you put these slow starts down to, Paul?
Um, I think the initial success of the team probably even caught the team by surprise to win, what was it, 5 or 6 in a row. Then you get the equalisation of, I don't know, call it fate or whatever, and there was a little bit less, and then there was a load of draws, and now we seem to be conceded in the first half. I agree that was just a lucky goal. I mean, it's bloody pinball, and the guy just taps it, knocks it in from like 3 yards out, and you can see the fellas are throwing themselves around, are trying to block the shot. They already blocked one of them. I think Pato saved it, and then the ball broke for him. And this is the funny thing about watching Sunderland. You always notice when the other team gets the second balls, or when the ball just kindly breaks for them, or the rub of the green.
Yeah,
And I never notice it happen for us. So there's some sort of psychological thing there. Um, I guess you could also say that the defence has not been settled. It was settled for the first, say, month. And then you got the injuries coming in, and then it gets buggered around. O'Nine's playing at right back, and he's been at centre back for a while. So I don't know. I think you got to separate it from if you're conceding from open play or you're conceding from set paces, and then you assess each one that way, and then try and deal with it.
yeah. And Chris, yesterday we saw something a little bit different for the first time, which was Robertson Mayenda getting switched on the wings. I mean, we'd actually been talking about that like previously on the podcast, saying like, why not give it a chance? And yesterday they did, and I think it looked all right for some parts of it. I mean, I don't think it's something permanent, but just 10 minutes here or there, like put them on different wings to see something little different, see how they react. And I thought it kind of made Norwich think a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, and I mean, Danny pointed out on the comms. I'm saying like I'm on first name terms with him. Danny pointed out on the comms about how he noticed that they'd switched. I think props to Mayenda as well. Like it's not his position, and he's a young kid, and he's just back from a bit of an injury. The work rate that he's putting in and the efforts that he's putting in are just phenomenal. Like I think it's testament to the kind of players that we're signing now. I'm sure Paul and yourself can remember the times in the Premier League when we've had a bunch of mercenaries and players who couldn't give a toss about the badge, let alone want to go to battle for it. The difference now with the signings that we seem to be making or have made over the last couple of years, I think he was the epitome of that at the weekend. Like he put so much effort in, and as you said, he gave Norwich a lot to think about. I don't think I agree. There seems to be a bit of noise on the forum and depending on Twitter and things like that. If you pay any attention to it, feels a little bit like Roberts has become a bit of a boo boy at the minute. Like people are giving him a lot of grief and knocking him, and I I don't think it's necessarily fair. I mean, he's not playing as well as he did when it was him and Ahmad. I mean, that combination was just phenomenal. And he played out of his skin for however long we had Ahmad for. When when he had that half season where he was just incredible, it was fantastic down that side. I think Roberts' problem is it's his final product. Like he does well, he go past 3 or 4 players, and then he just makes the wrong decision, or he always seems to try and shoot
Yeah.
instead of laying it off to somebody. But I think the whole switching thing was good. I think it was a good idea. It was nice to see us do something a bit different, as you said, that gave Norwich something to think about because you could almost see them going, "Oh, hang on, hang on, I need to go over there now." So yeah, I thought it was good. I like that tactical change at the weekend.
Yeah, well, on the note of Mayenda, I think like his pace is something that we need to exploit more, isn't it?
Agreed. Yeah, definitely.
Because yesterday you saw a couple of times when he gets the ball and he just whacks it 10 yards in front of him, he's
Yeah,
got the beat of probably every centre half in the league. And he
yeah,
had that chance yesterday, didn't he, where he got through. The same with Isidore, he's got some pace. So I think we need to kind of exploit different aspects of their games that we don't.
yeah,
As for Roberts, I think like listen. He'll give you 100% every single time. And I think
yeah.
it's great that he's actually lasting like 90 minutes because I think in previous seasons he might have been hooked after 75 minutes or 70 minutes, but now he's basically playing every single game and he'll try something, and if it doesn't come off, he'll not drop his head, he'll pick it up and he'll go again. And I think that's kind of like people don't really appreciate that as much as they should.
No,
Um,
agreed. I think that's a trait of the side now as well. You don't see many of them letting their heads drop. We go goal down, and you just see them. They're all kind of geeing each other up again. It's not like again. I could talk about players that we've had in the past that didn't give a damn. You can see them all just going, all right, well, I'll try again. It's like, and I mean, it's the mixture of youth and as you said, Roberts is, he'll go and make a mistake again. If he makes a mistake, you can see it bothers him for a second, but then next time he's got the ball, he tries to go past 3 players again. So fair play to
yeah,
him.
yeah. Paul, do you think that Mayenda and Roberts get a bit of unfair criticism playing on the wings because they don't seem to create as many chances, they don't seem to score as many goals? But is that not because like they're basically our only outlet? Like as soon as we get the ball, our plan is to get it to the wings and let them do the work. So do you think they get a bit of unfair stick?
Um, I, well, Roberts had a good season for us in League One, not such a good season for us in the Championship. He overplays it often, and he wants to score. And of course, the team has been for the last couple of years set up to be this inverted wingers with the centre forward, which we didn't have. We haven't had one for a long time, and now this is the first season, if we call Isidore the centre forward, that we've actually had a centre forward. And then you've got the curse of I swear that football ground's cursed the stadium alike because we lose Clark, and in comes my Mundell. He's doing really well. Bang, he gets injured, so he gets replaced by Tommy Watson, and he's doing really, really well, amazingly well, and he gets injured. So I just think there's either something about the training or there's something bloody wrong there. It's just always just massively bad injuries that we seem to suffer from. And the right wing, well, we've only had one player there, haven't we? I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but Roberts is the right winger, inverted winger.
Yeah,
There isn't another option. So Pervader's come in injured.
yeah.
So a
He
top
was on the bench
three,
yesterday, wasn't he? He came back on the bench yesterday. He didn't come on, but
right?
at least it's a positive that he's basically there to kind of push Roberts, no? So I suppose it's a good thing.
He had a decent time. Where was he at? He was at one of the
Sh
other clubs, wasn't he?
Chef Word last
Sheffield,
season.
was it?
Yeah, Chef Word, yeah.
Reasonable reports about Pervader, but he got injured. So, and then you got the centre forward thing with Mayenda. I think it's just he's a young striker, but can play as an inside forward rather, and he does have pace. Yeah, he definitely does. And he's very, very young. He should have done better with that chance, though.
Yeah,
I don't care. He's been knocking goals in surely since he was a young lad.
yeah,
But cometh the moment, cometh the man, and blah blah blah.
yeah. And You mentioned Isidore there, Paul, as being like our first striker, proper striker in years. He needs a goal at the minute, though, doesn't he? Because it's not coming off him, is it not?
Well, it was amazing, wasn't it? Like he was scoring these incredible bloody worldies, and wait, who's this guy? I mean, so first of all, physically, he's exactly what we need, and he's tried him on the left, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think you've got to play him up front. He seems to want to play him up front. It's just the guy's gifted clearly because he scored these bizarre goals, especially the one that's
Was it the one
coming in
against
from the left wing.
Coventry? He scored one against Coventry, didn't he? Or the
It looked about not chest height, but just lower than chest height. He somehow managed to sort of flick it on, and it was in the bloody net, and I could believe it. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He just needs a tap in.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, yesterday we see that when Dan Neil gets the ball, he always likes to play these like through balls to Isidore, and that's what we kind of like. That's what we need more of, isn't it? But I mean, we don't seem to do it enough. Our style of play is basically get it to the wingers, and then Isidore's in the middle. We get balls in the box, but there's only Isidore in the box against like four defenders. So I think we do need to kind of mix it up, don't we? And like use Isidore's like running in behind the lines a little bit more, don't you think?
Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, I think with the three that we've got in the middle, Neil, Jobe, and Riggy, they're all very talented players, and they can all do that. They can all see a pass and play it through. And you can see, I wonder if any of it is frustration. Like you can see Wilson, he makes run after run after run after run. You can see him getting in all these positions, and he's always in the right spot for a through ball. And we play it once in every 20 times. As you said, it's all about the wings. It's all about getting it out wide, which is all well and good, but mix it up a bit, like you said. Like try just something a bit different. Keep the opposition on their toes, you know. Um, yeah, it would be something that I'd like to see. That I'd like to see us have a just another way of playing. I mean, the goal when he ran like pretty much the length of the pitch and stuck it in, you know, and he's got that about him. He's got that pace. He's got the strength, and as Paul said, he's got the physique. He's the forwards potentially that we've been screaming for since Stewart. Um, he's very strong. He's very talented. He's got a good finish on him. Obviously, he's not firing at the minute. And again, as Paul said, he just needs one to go in off his elbow or whatever, and then he'll be up and running again. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do. I think we need more avenues of attack over the wings. And we like again, as Paul said earlier, the Roberts. One of his problems is that he tends to overwork it. He'll run, go past somebody, go past another one, go past a third, and then it's like a 3 yard pass to Rig. And by the time we do that, the opposition's got themselves set up. They've got 8 players in the box, and we're trying to get some worldy perfect crossing for Isidore or Jobe or somebody to get in the end of. Sometimes you just need to, a bit of a Hail Mary, just get the ball forward, play a decent through ball, and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yesterday a lot of crosses like don't even beat the first man. So I mean, yeah, I feel for Wilson, but that chance he had yesterday, I think he took was like one touch too many, didn't he? Yeah, the first touch and second touch were good because he got it out of his feet, played it
Yeah,
forward, and then there was one touch that kind of like was just under his feet, gave the
yeah,
defender a chance to get back in, and then he
yeah.
ended up skying it. But I mean, I think yeah, that's what we need to do more. You mentioned there, Chris, the midfield three, they are very talented. Jobe, Rig, and Neil. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Job scored a cracker yesterday. Do you not think that though they're very similar in style, and there's like a bit of lack of creativity? Do you know what I mean? Like in the past, we had like Pritchard, we had Diallo. They all got this kind of like extra bit of or that vision, no, to get to pick a pass or to do something a step over and get us on the front foot. I don't think you get that with Job, Rig, and Neil. I think it's just with them, it's just about engine, isn't it? Like the non-stop running.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I've never actually thought about that. That's a really fair point. Yeah, I mean, again, they can all play an excellent pass. They can all run past a player. But you're right. I mean, you think about a Pritchard or, I mean, I'm going way back, but like an Alex Ray,
Yeah.
somebody who would take the ball past somebody and play a nice little through ball into someone. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, the only player I can say we've got right now who is similar to the kind of Pritchard more is probably Aushish. And I think the last couple of games he's come on and he's actually like done a couple of step overs, and he's created something within 2 minutes that we've been struggling for most games. So do you not think that he deserves maybe a chance to come in?
Sheesh. Um, I don't really, I don't really recall. I believe he has scored for us.
Yeah, he
I just don't.
scored. Yeah, I can't remember who against, but he has scored. Yeah,
I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get him. Yeah. So if he's the attacking midfielder playing centrally, you go one of two ways. You have a unit there that's going to hold the ball up because your centre forward's short and fast, or you have a very small person there, like what's it, Pritchard, something like that.
yeah,
Small. See, it's no good up against a massive centre back. If you're small, you're going to get fouled, free
yeah,
kick, or he's going to dance around you, and that's why that system works. But you've got what looks to me like Dan Neil playing this holding role. I don't think he should be doing that. I think he should be up front, and I think they should be rotating Grigg and Jobe. If we in an ideal world, I mean, these two young players are playing for footballing reasons, but there are corporate reasons for this. I wouldn't want a 17-year-old playing week in, week out if I was the manager. I would want an experienced player there. And if I haven't got one, I'm going to get one. So Aaron, what's his name? Brown? He's out injured, isn't
yeah.
he?
Alan Brown. Yeah,
So Neil has to start, I suppose, because
Salis is
he,
injured. Yeah,
he can be bloody frustrating, Dan Neil. But I think it's partly like, what's his preferred position? Is it as a holding midfielder or is it playing further up front? And then it was his birthday and he scored that fantastic goal. That was Dan Neil's birthday, wasn't it? Or
it
was it
might
the
have
day
been.
before or the
It
day
might.
after?
Yeah, it might have been the day before, the day after. Yeah, I think so. It was. Yeah.
So I'm all right. I don't mind Dan Neil starting every week. Jobe, I'd still, maybe there's a contractual thing of he has to play every game regardless of the team's situation. I would want to rotate, and I think Brown and other. I also want to see because '09's kind of he's like a bastion for the club. He's a great spokesman for the club, and he's probably one of the best signings I can think of in my lifetime. And he's bizarrely been played in so many different positions, but a guy of his physique playing at centre back is very odd, and yet he still does it. But me, I personally would like to play him as a central defensive midfielder, as a ball-winning central defensive midfielder. Then you can put Dan Neil up front, and then you can rotate Rig and Jobe
Yeah.
and
Uh,
an other because of injuries and whatnot.
well, that's a fair point. And Chris, like Rig, yeah, he scored quite a few goals, didn't he, earlier in the season? But like those goals just seem to have like dropped off. He doesn't seem to be getting in those positions anymore. I think he's still trying like 100%, but I think he's running on empty, isn't he? And like it was about this time this last season when we started to notice the same with Jobe that he was getting knackered. So it's because it's like it's history repeating itself, isn't it? But it's with a different player.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see he's not quite as sharp as he was 4 or 5 games ago. Every time he touched the ball, I mean, that goal against Middlesbrough and just, the presence of mind to be able to do that in that split second. I mean, it's all well and good thinking, oh, I'll just step over this and back healer. But to be able to do it in half a second is a different thing. He's definitely not quite the player that he was a few. And we're always going, you're going to get that with youth. You're going to get that with young players. They're never going to be consistent. They're not at their peak physically. You're not going to get it. And again, as Paul said, the rotation, it'd be nice to be able to do a bit more rotation on the defensive stuff to allow us to do that. I wouldn't have any issues with it being Mepham and Ballard at the back. I think Mepham's been a fabulous loan signing. He's only 24 and he looks like an elder statesman in the team because we're full of so many kids. He's been great since he came in. He's been really solid. Him and Ballard at the back would be great, and we could then put '09 into that more sitting position. And '09 can he can bring the ball out, he can spot a pass. He's got all that in the locker. So yeah, that would give us the opportunity to make those changes. So yeah, I'd like to see Rig get a bit more rotation, as both you and Paul have said.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned there 09, Ballard, Mepham. I mean, Ballard scored yesterday, a bullet of a header. And he can do that often as well because he scored a few goals like that for us. He scored a few goals like that for Northern Ireland. It's just that when we get the quality in, we've got players like Isidore, Mepham, or Ballard who can get the head on it because they're going to win headers.
Yeah.
But he got injured yesterday, didn't he? It looked like I don't know if it was his knee or his thigh. He took a bit of an awkward landing, didn't he? And he went up against Ashley Barnes, so we'll have to watch out for that against Blackburn, see if he's going to be fit. Right then, before we finished, Paul, I just want to touch quickly on the Jobe goal because it was very, very composed, wasn't it? That finish, the way he kind of like sat the defender down on his arse, and then to have that kind of quick thinking to just like first time toe poke it or whatever it was, inside of the foot into the corner like that. That's some kind of confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons with Jobe's physique. He built like a boxer, like a middleweight boxer or something, where his brother's a bit leaner and he's faster and he's more nippy. And I think he's a year or two older than Jobe. Jobe's only 18, so the potential's enormous, but he has to have some clear, this is my position. Where do you play? I am a striker. I am a winger. I am a defender. I'm a centre back. Particular key role. So if he can play in the final third, then you're gonna, because he's strong, and he can hold off a centre back, and then he can get us a goal without us having to play 52 passes, and then the end result is a worldie, and then we just want these easier goals for Sunderland where it isn't trying to take on so many men, and that's pretty much what we've been talking about is the fact that he just had to yelled off the guy and he knocked it in from about, was it the 6-yard line or something like that, good feet, good technical. Sunderland seem to be very obsessed with the technical players, so good for him.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because a striker didn't get on the end of that. Jobe did.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Right, lads, we've got just a quick minute left, so very quickly before we finish, a prediction for Blackburn on Boxing Day. Chris?
I'm gonna say 2-1.
2-1 win?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm optimistic. Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, as ever, 5-0 to the lads.
5-0 to the lads. Love it. Love that optimism. One thing is for sure that we can't afford to go behind against Blackburn because they're in a very good form at the minute. Although they lost against Millwall, they're still a very difficult opponent. And in recent memory of Blackburn, I don't think we've had a lot of success there. But anyway, lads, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure to meet you and speak to you. How are the lads?
How are the lads?
Cool. How are the lads?
Hello there, I'm Mark, currently living in Spain, and I'm a member of the Bilbao Black Cats. I've been a member for several years, and I started supporting Sunderland in 1988. We're in the 3rd division with my first heroes, Gabry and Gates. I try and get to as many games as I can, and we'll always watch them on the telly. Looking forward to a successful season, and hopefully be able to get to see them back in the top division with my 2 boys who are also Sunderland fans. Cheers, how are the lads?